So today we'll start intuitive programming. And if you go to courses, it's right under the web fundamentals. You will find this in JavaScript fundamentals. So today we'll start with class number 1, this slide, introduction to JavaScript. So this is going to be mostly some theory, some history of JavaScript, and a little bit of practice also. And so be prepared, please, to have your VS Code ready. Be prepared to share your screen. I might ask for volunteers to share their code or write the code with, let's make it interactive. And from now on, I know you've been doing really good job practicing, but from today, you need to double that practicing effort. You will have, after this class, you can start doing some, after this class and after, I think after this week in general, you can start using this, the platform more. There is a practice section with some questions, and some questions may be a little bit not very clear for now, maybe because we haven't covered functions and if-else statements. But after this week, you will be more familiarized with the syntax, and then you need to be doing actively these questions. But yeah, so introduction to JavaScript. First of all, you should know that JavaScript is not same as Java. It is actually totally different programming language. And we use programming languages to add logic and steps for the machine to do for us. For example, the difference between markup language, the HTML and JavaScript is that we use HTML to have the structure of our pages, of websites, and we use CSS to make it pretty, and JavaScript we use to add functionality to our websites. Imagine yourself, for example, I like to use this analogy of a house. You build the house, the structure of the house with HTML, and you make it nice, you paint it, you choose the color of the house itself, the doors and the windows with CSS to make it pretty. And then you, if you want the doors to be open, the light to turn on and turn off, and add the electricity, like all this stuff, all the functionalities of the house, you need to use JavaScript. So that's like the analogy that I like to use. And JavaScript is the only language that can be used to build like web applications that browser understands. That's the reason why it's so popular nowadays. I would like to share with you this survey. This survey is from 2023. Around 90,000 people were surveyed, asked this question, what's their language of use? And 63% replied that they use JavaScript. And number 2 is HTML and CSS. Also, you know, the Stack Overflow, right? So I think most likely this is the Stack Overflow survey that they made. So they asked around 90,000 people, which programming, scripting, or markup language have you done extensive development work in over the past year, and which do you want to work in over the next year? And all respondents, among all the respondents, JavaScript was number 1. So 63%, almost 64% replied that they use JavaScript or they would like to learn JavaScript. And among professional developers, 65% said that they use JavaScript. So it's very, very popular. And I don't think its popularity, I don't think it's gonna decline, because all the websites you interact with, they use JavaScript. And there are there is a huge community that supports JavaScript and lots of libraries, lots of frameworks. You probably heard about React, and it's constantly they are evolving and constantly they are adding new features, making it more user-friendly, making it easy for developers to develop and easy for people to learn the language. So that's the reason I think for the popularity, the use, huge use case, and the support of the community. And let me go back. So you need to understand that Java is a different language. It's a server-side language, and JavaScript is client-side language. But when I say client-side language, it's the language that browser reads and understands and interprets. So when you build a new website, you build it with JavaScript, and then you can send the request to server, and server will give a response, and you need to interpret that response and show something to the user. And JavaScript works with HTML and CSS, so you can always we'll see how you can use access HTML and how you can manipulate HTML and how you can manipulate CSS with JavaScript. And like any programming language, JavaScript lets you reuse the code. So you can create a function. So here's the example of a function here. So you can create a function with a keyword function, and then this is the name of the function, and this is some parameters that it can take. We'll have more like a deep dive into functions. I'm just showing you as an example. And you can reuse this function anytime when you want to check an age. And you can basically create like a model, like a Lego pieces. Every piece is your function, and you can just construct a whole like logic, different kind of logic with different kind of functions every time. So you don't have to write the code every time from scratch. You just write multiple functions and you can just reuse them, so that it will save you time and it will make your code more maintainable in the long run. So it will, by using functions, you can help your programs to be more modular and easier to work with. And let's see. So it was created by Brendan Eich, and he first named it as Mocha. He created in 1995 when he worked for Netscape. While he was having his full-time work, he also created this language. And I'm not sure if it's true or not, but you can find this fact also in the internet that this language was created in 10 days. It was developed in 10 days because they were in a big rush, because they wanted Netscape Communication Corporation to be, they were competing with their competitor, which back then it was Microsoft Internet Explorer. So they wanted to release this as soon as possible, and that's why they were in such a rush, and created in 10 days. When there is a joke that's why JavaScript is so buggy. In future, we'll show you that sometimes it acts weird. There are some quirky things about JavaScript that you will eventually you'll eventually get used to it. So there is a standard that's used in JavaScript. So standard for the syntax, it's like a convention, the set of rules and features, and that standardization is called ECMAScript. And every year, just like your iPhone, every year they release like a new version of it. So the biggest version that was released was ES6 in 2015. And right now, I think it's ES 17 maybe, I'm not sure. Like they release every year. And the biggest release was ES6. So when a lot of features were introduced, a lot of bugs were solved. So ECMAScript is like a standard for the JavaScript. There is a language, JavaScript, programming language, and the set of rules and features and the standardization is done by ECMAScript. So you don't have to learn, it's not a separate language, it's just a specification, like a rule. And the client-side processing language. So what it means is that your browser will read the code line by line, left to right. So just like when you read the code left to right, it will read top to bottom and left to right. The browser will read your code. And it can interact with HTML and CSS. And you can build dynamic web pages. What we mean by dynamic web pages, for example, one of the platforms that uses JavaScript is LinkedIn. So for example, when I open LinkedIn, it's actually most of the websites nowadays that you interact with, they're just one page. There is only one HTML document, and the rest of the content, when you think like it seems like you're going to different pages, actually the browser just renders this on the same page different content, and that is done by JavaScript. So your HTML code might be just one single file with very little code in it, but all the content will be generated by JavaScript. Why? Because there is no such storage. The web applications are huge nowadays, right? Like the Facebook, LinkedIn, and all these websites, they are huge, and there is a lot of content that needs to be dynamically generated for every user, specifically for every user. So what happens is that there is just one page, and JavaScript will know who the ID of the user, and it will just create the dynamic information, dynamic content based on the information that's stored on you. So for example, I have connections here, and you can see that there are similar blocks, same blocks that get generated. So these lines of code, yeah. So this component, all these components, they are actually same. So what happens is that when I open this page, this page will, there is little piece of code that will get the data from database about my connections, and it will say that, okay, there are like 600 connections, and it will say like for every connection, create this box that will have an image, this name, and the title, and when this was connected, and create also this button and this button. So, and there's only this line of code, and this will just be multiplied by the rest of the code. And when I scroll down, more and more data will be dynamically created depending on my actions. So if I click this show more results, then there will be more content created. And this is done by JavaScript. Why? Because we don't want to write, developers don't want to write 600 boxes. They don't want to create 600 boxes. Imagine if I had like 1,000 connections, then you would have to write 1,000 same line of code. And JavaScript helps you to avoid this. With just few lines of code, you can create huge data, like huge content. So that's why we need a programming language like JavaScript to add logic to HTML. Okay. So this is what we mean when we say that it will build dynamic web pages and that responds to input from users. So, and it will respond to the actions of the user. So, because before, in 90s, the websites, they used to be just static pages. You just read it like this page, yeah? You just read it and all the user would just have the information. There is no interaction whatsoever. But then since the introduction of the JavaScript, now users can interact with the page. So they can click buttons, they can scroll, they can have like, they can highlight like this even highlighting event. This is an event that happens on this page. Like when I click it, there is an event that's called mouse down. And when I remove my mouse from the click button, right click, there is another event that happens, which is mouse up. So JavaScript will respond to all this, will track all these events that happen on the browser. So that's why we also say that JavaScript is event-driven language. So what it means is that it waits for any event that happens on the page that happens by the user, like a user will initiate all these events, and it will react to it. And you can add any piece of code at any event to any event. So what you can do with JavaScript, you can create different buttons. You can create sliders with JavaScript. You can create this kind of pop-up boxes, or like this kind of drop downs. All these drop downs will also happen on user click at this component, genres component, genres component, new music component. They will also all listen to this event, click event, and when you click, another component will appear as a drop down. So this will be also added as by JavaScript. And you can draw something and do animations with JavaScript. The use case for JavaScript is huge. It's not only the web pages nowadays, but also you can create games. You can write even server-side code if you would like to. And like also like the web pages, of course. Let me just go to the next one. So do you have any questions so far?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So can you, everyone, can you please open your VS Code and we'll start. Let's write some code. So we need to create index.html, and you can just add some boilerplate code here. And if you'd like to start writing JavaScript code, all you need to do is create a file, script. For example, I'm going to call it script.js file, script.js. So .js extension will tell that this is will let browser understand that this is a JavaScript file, and it will read automatically, will start interpreting your code, reading your code as a JavaScript code. Just like .html is an extension to let browser know that this is the HTML file. So inside this script.js file, we'll let it be open for now, like we'll not write anything. So how you can add JavaScript code? You can write it like CSS code. You can write it inline. You can make it embedded. For example, you can write here script, and between these tags, you can start writing your JavaScript code. Can you zoom in? Yeah, maybe I can make the font size a little bit bigger. Is good? So you can write it here in the head itself, but this is not a good practice because browser will read the HTML document, right? HTML file. And first it will encounter your script, like JavaScript code. Yeah. But JavaScript code can be huge file, right? Like there might be a lot of logic, that a lot of calculations, a lot of interactions. So it will take some time, browser will take some time to read your code. While it reads your code, it will not go to the next line and read the body of your HTML. So the user might not see the structure of your website, and you're letting the user wait, right? And it's not a good idea ever to let the user wait. You want to show some kind of structure and some kind of CSS first, so that you need to keep your user busy, entertained, while the browser reads your code. So that's why we do not put it in the head, because it will pause here and it can delay the performance of your website. So it's not a good practice to put it in the head. You can put it inside the body and start your code here, HTML code here. But this is not also a good practice, because still the script is coming first. So JavaScript code here. So the JavaScript code will still be read first, and depending on how big your file is, it might take some time for the browser. And then your HTML code will be shown. So this will cause also some kind of delay. So that's why we would like to put it after all the HTML code is done, still inside the body, but after you put all your structure here. Yeah. So let me remove it here. So first comes all HTML code, and only then you put the JavaScript. And this is embedded JavaScript code, right? So we are writing it still inside HTML document, so like HTML file. This is also not a good practice. You do it only if you have few lines of code. If you have a lot of code inside your script, then it's a good practice to use script with a source. So with a source, and inside the source, you will put the path to your file where you will write your code. So here I can just put script.js. So what I'm telling browsers that here's my structure, and somewhere here I will have my style CSS. So please read my style CSS, read my body, and then show it to the user. And after it's shown to the user, then only go to my JavaScript code that is inside my script.js. And where script.js is, it's here. So this is the best practice. And inside script.js, you can have multiple JavaScript files, and in the future you will learn something like component driven development. So you can have different components. For example, with this example, you can have a button component that can be a separate file with all the logic. You can have this card component that can be a different file, and you can show all of them, like the browser will interpret it like one after another. But for now, the structure that we're going to use for now is index.html that will have script tag that will have a source with the link to your script.js file. So any questions so far? Please try to follow me, and because we'll be doing some practice together. Let me put it smaller here. So just like CSS, you can split a long block of JavaScript into its own file. So it will help you to have some maintainability, keep your code clean and readable. And you can make a, let's develop. I think you're following me, right? So let's do it together. So inside the script file, there are multiple ways how you can show a message on the browser. And I'm going to open this live server. So you can see that right now there is nothing. There are multiple ways how you can show some data, your message on the browser. And there are 3 ways: with alert, with console log, or document.write, and they will appear in a different way. For example, let's start with alert. So alert is a function that will create a pop-up window. So you can see that here I already did is wrote alert parentheses, because it's a function that will expect some kind of message. So my message is hello world. And when I run this, when I save it, it will automatically pop up here. Well, it will say hello world here from this address. And you can click this OK button to confirm it. And there is also another way. You can write console.log. Console is an object that you can have access to multiple functionalities of console. Console.log, console.clear, but mainly we're gonna use console.log. We use this to show the data on the console, and I'll show you here. So I'm going to again write hello world, and I'm going to remove this code for now. And where do you see this hello world? So to see this, you need to go to Control Shift and J, I believe. Yes, Control Shift J. And this will open the console in Developer Tool. So you remember the elements that we used to understand the structure of our web page. Also the styles, to get the styles of every element that we created. Just like that, console will help you to understand your JavaScript code. And in the console, you'll see if there are any errors, what went wrong with your website, if it's crashing, why it's crashing. So it will help you to investigate. So console is your best friend from now on. So if something is not working, or working not as expected as not as you're expecting, then you should go to console, and there will be some errors here, red errors, highlighted with red. And your job as a developer is to read the console, all the red errors, and try to solve it. And in the future, we'll teach you how to interpret every error in console. So you can see here, hello world. So this is the message that we wrote here. So if I write anything here, so that's going to be shown in the console. Hello, let's see that. And you can see that when I save it, it will automatically appear here. Other way you can do is document.write. So document.write, document is an object. It's your HTML page, your web page that you created. So in my case, document is this website that doesn't really have any structure in it, but still I can get some native functionalities. For example, document.write will allow me to insert some text into my web page. For example, here I can write text from hey there, for example. So if I write hey there, so it will appear right here. And this is the code that we inserted, right? And this is the code that we wrote right here. So there are multiple ways how you can interact with your with scriptures right now. But mainly we'll be working with console log because console log is usually used to we don't use document.write because we don't want some data to appear for the user. This is not, that's why we don't use it. We want all the errors or some messages to be shown only to us, to developers, and usually console is used by developers. So if there are any messages that you need to show, some additional like error logs that you need to show, then we usually show it with console log. And alert is, again, sometimes you do need to alert the user, make it say, okay, yes or no, some kind of action. But usually alert is in a programming world, in web developer world, we try to avoid alerts because there are other prettier ways to alert users. This alert is kind of ugly. So usually when you join some company, they will have their own structure, how to, their own style, how to alert the user. So all you will have to build some component to alert, to write an alert message for the user. So let's move on. So far, do you have any questions? Everybody could show the message alert for in the console.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna ask a volunteer. Do we have any volunteer who would like to share their screen and show what kind of message they wrote? Or is anybody who is struggling to show the message? How about Nursultan? Would you like to volunteer?
Okay.
I
Let me
put
share my
Nursultan
screen, please.
on the spot, yeah.
Entire screen. Sorry. I didn't start. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're like going on the, yeah. Oh, you're doing age calculator, okay. I knew whom to ask. Yeah, like I asked the pro here. So you're creating index HTML.
Oh, sorry. There is some mess with directories. New folder. Oh, sorry. I don't like this. Page index HTML doc script.js hello world script crc
I love your folder names. Something.
Yes.
How do you know what the thing is?
I don't know.
The different folder will be other thing, and then the other thing.
Other thing too. Oh, one. Yes,
Okay,
we have it
cool.
here.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
You use ChatGPT. Do you have
Oh,
their
yes,
paid
I do have.
their paid version?
Oh, paid? No, I don't have monies for the paid version. I think 3.5 is fine for me.
Yeah,
I
3.1.
used it a lot, like I have no problems. I do not need the pictures and that stuff. No. Um, how to end my screen?
There will be
Oh,
but stop share.
oh, yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I use ChatGPT too. My company pays for the subscription, so that's a nice perk because they
Yeah.
have like an educational stipend. Every company, most of the companies in the United States, I think they have educational stipend for their employees. My company gives like $1,000 per year to buy any books or buy like subscriptions.
Or
So
Copilot or some ChatGPT, right?
yeah, I use it for ChatGPT,
No.
and they reimburse the money. I also use it for Audible too, but I don't use Audible to listen to any work stuff. I just listen
Oh.
to some fiction books, but they're fine with that. So that's nice.
It's cool if you have.
Yeah, so hopefully when you need to get um, employed as soon as possible so that your company pays for your ChatGPT subscription.
It simplifies the works really. Like you just type to ChatGPT to do some manual work. He doing some like for the some structures or some simple stuff. You know, you don't need to spend the time for doing that manual boring coding the lines by line.
Yeah, definitely. And I realized that ChatGPT, the paid subscription is good for building the like if you don't know, for example, right now at my work, I need to um, integrate Python and JavaScript. Um,
Oh,
so I just wrote in ChatGPT how to integrate Python
oh,
and
I
JavaScript.
think you should API use some for
Yeah,
running Python code on JavaScript.
yeah, so it gives me all the like structures step by step, like what kind of tools are out there for like Flask,
Yeah.
Django, like
Yes,
and then
yes.
yeah, so
Mm,
that's a good thing, I think.
but it doesn't really write your code properly sometimes. If you have the
Yes,
big projects and it's gonna be mess and some errors pop up and you have to debug after ChatGPT and it's really
definitely,
crazy.
definitely. Do you use it for work as well? Like, what do you do for work? You're a QA?
Um, oh no, I don't. I'm just a student.
You're student. Okay,
But no, I'm not a really student. I'm just learning by myself. I
nice.
have I was a student in a Kısıtlı Kyrgyz State University.
Mhm. Where do you live, Nursultan?
Chicago.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
Nice. Good to know.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Maner, what's your position like? Are you like front-end developer or like more like back-end?
Full stack developer. Um,
What technologies do you use for the
it's
applications?
so we have programs that are written in Java, C Sharp, JavaScript, Vue.js.
Oh, you use Spring for the backend?
Yeah, we
Oh,
do. And I'm not a very strong backend developer, to be honest. I still position myself as a front-end expert because because I just enjoy front-end. Also, like lots of projects that I work on, in they involve like a heavy front-end development. Um, so that's maybe the reason. And like in future, I see myself growing as a like senior front end or senior developer with front end expertise. Like I'm fine with that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Manir.
Yeah.
So yeah, you mentioned about ChatGPT subscription. Do you have any restrictions using on ChatGPT from work? It's like, are you allowed to put your
confidential
working
stuff.
code in ChatGPT?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I cannot put the confidential like,
But you do it
like,
to simplify the work.
Okay, because yeah, everything you work so right, you ask in ChatGPT is gonna stay there for I don't know,
yeah,
for a long time.
definitely. They're
So
gonna
yeah,
use
I
it
know.
for
Yeah, I know.
multiple.
I know some organizations just don't allow using ChatGPT in their networks. But yeah, it's good to
Oh, I
know that
see.
some companies.
Yeah, Dave on my company is cool is that like my manager, he told me that I should get the ChatGPT and get the subscription and the company will reimburse it. Like
Okay.
in my team, they do a lot of new development kind of things that do not sometimes exist in market or they exist, but they you need to pay for it. So they ask us to develop it. And sometimes it's something that we don't have knowledge about. So for example, at work, I need to they hired me as C# developer, but then they asked me to do like development, front-end development on Vue. I never had any expertise working with Vue. So my manager's manager, we say like Skip manager, he was like, yeah, guys, you should use ChatGPT to refactor your code so that you use best practices and stuff like that. I was like, oh, cool. Like they
Okay.
totally focused it.
And
I
so
can
is it startup company? Do you so where you're
Oh
working?
no,
or
it's just mid-sized company.
it's not?
Fintech.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I would suggest for everyone to use ChatGPT. It's really cool. And if you're interested in machine learning, in 2 weeks, next Saturday, actually not 2 weeks, next Saturday, we'll have a guest speaker in Chicago campus, and it's gonna be the meeting will be online and offline. So it's free. Everyone is welcome to join, and we'll make an announcement and we'll send out notifications and invitations to everybody. So it's going to be on Saturday. The machine learning expert will come and showcase his model that he built. So that's going to be fun, I think. So let's continue. Computers, they need simple and clear instructions. So we should not assume that it will understand the browser will understand what we wanted to do. We need to write like clear instructions. So that's like the foundation of programming, right? So it needs to be step-by-step instructions. So you need to start thinking like a programmer and understand that computers, they are not so difficult to work with if you give clear instructions. And computers are great at processing, but they are bad at understanding. So it's not ChatGPT, definitely. You cannot write like a simple sentences, right? You need to write like follow certain syntax of your programming language and make clear instructions step by step. And so when you write a program, you must break it down into every step into simple pieces. For example, imagine that you need to draw a square. You need to write these steps, for example, like find the whiteboard and dry erase a marker, uncap the dry erase marker, hold the marker in your hand, place the marker against the whiteboard, move your hand right, stop, move your hand down, stop, and etc. So just like that, for the computers, we need to write, we need to make sure that we are following we are breaking the problem into small steps and giving clear instructions to every step. I do not agree with this statement that computers are hard to work with. I think human beings are harder to work with sometimes because people are more complicated, right, than computers. With computers, you can just give clear instructions
Yeah.
as long as you, and there are no ways for misinterpretation depending on the bias. Like, no, computers will exactly understand what you mean if you write it clearly. With people, it's not the same, right? We know that sometimes we can say something and different people can understand it differently. With computers, it's a lot easier. So I would like you to change that mindset and think that computers are
Computers
easy
don't
to.
have emotions. They can be angry for you.
Exactly.
But
Exactly,
you
right?
can angry for the computer. Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah.
That's what I do all the time. So how does JavaScript work? So if you write the code in Script.js, imagine you're visiting a website that has JavaScript code. So your browser, Chrome or Edge, will read the code line by line. So left to right, and the browser will run each line of code as it reads, so line by line. Based on these instructions, the browser performs calculations, changes to HTML. So you can modify your HTML. You can write whole HTML just with JavaScript. You might not write even a single line in HTML. That's fine. And you can also modify CSS. So JavaScript browser will perform all the calculations and changes that in HTML and CSS based on your code. And if the browser finds any code that it doesn't understand, or if there is any error, it will stop running. For example, you write some code, and then at a certain point, you make a mistake. You write something that browser doesn't understand, for example, and then the browser will say, hey, consoles is not defined. So this is the error, right? Let me do it again. So you can see that it's reading line 2. You can see it on the right side. It read the line 2, line 3, line 4, 5, 6, 7, blah, blah. And on line 13, since I wrote not console, but console S, the browser is confused now. So it says that consoles is not defined. What it means is that it does not understand there is no such thing as consoles. There is console, but there is no such thing as consoles. That's why it gives you error. Your job as a developer to go to your website and go to developer tool, open the console and read line by line, like find this error and read this error and interpret it. In our case, consoles is not defined. It means that there is some consoles that is not on your page. So it's not created. It's not defined means it's not created. So you will see like, okay, consoles, weird. It should be console. So then you fix the code and run it again. Here we go. It's fixed now. So that's basically day-to-day task of a developer when you're writing your code, creating website. If it's not working, go to console and read the error.
Sometimes you have the errors when there is nothing on the line. It's like empty.
It might happen too, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have no idea. Then you use debugger. We'll
Oh,
teach you
how to use debugger? By the
we'll
way.
show you in
Okay.
future classes how to use debugger.
Maybe now.
Okay, so I think this is a good time to take a break and then we'll continue our class. Let's take 10 minutes break. So enjoy your break, guys. See you in 10 minutes. So the other thing that you can do with console log inside the console log in this statement is not only write something like this, for example, hello from CITIC, but you can also perform some arithmetical operations. So for example, 2 plus 2. So if you write this and save it, I think this is our document, right? If you save it, you will see that the answer output here as 4. So here we can make actually a combination of the result. The result is, and then comma, separate with comma, and then you'll see is that the result is 4. And you can do 2 minus 2, that will be 0, of course, and then multiplication. In JavaScript, you can do all kind of operations that you do usually. So you can perform anything. Of course, we are not going to perform all our mathematical operations inside the console, but this is like just one example that you can do. Imamudin, you have a question?
Yes. Sorry, can you explain once again the purpose of using this console log? I just forgot it.
So console log is usually used for debugging. So if you'd like to understand what's going on in your code, for example, we will create some data, right? We'll store some data, and then we'll perform some kind of manipulations on the data. But then if we don't see the output that we want, that we expect, then we can check the data with console log. We can just, for example, I can create here const, let's say let my number is equal to 4, and then I say my number is equal to my number multiplied by 3, then I will divide it by 2, oops, then I will get add 6, and then I'm expecting to see 12 divided by 2, 6, 12, yeah, like let's put it 7, so 13. But for some reason I see, I'm gonna put here now. I'm expecting to see 13, but let's say it outputs 14 or 15, and I'm like, it's not supposed to show 15, it's supposed to show 13. And then what I can do is I can use a debugger. So it's a special tool in your VS Code that will allow you to run your code line by line and show you how your mynum, this data is changing on every line, or in a quick way, quick and dirty way. You can check here, for example, line 7, mynum. At this line, I can check what's going on with my nums. Then I can be like, okay, on line 7, this is what's happening to my data, and then what happens on later. So this is one way why you can use console log. So you can just check your data, what's happening. And this is like very simple example, because of course it's very easy to see it right now. But extreme example, like use case can be you're expecting some collection of data from a server, but you're not getting that data right now, like you're not showing it properly or you're modifying it incorrectly, then you can check it with console log. For example, some data from database, let's call it users. So you get these users, and this is a lot of data, yeah, some collection of data. Usually it's stored in array. So usually it's like some data here. And then usually it's gonna be a complicated structure, data structure. Yeah. So you need to see how you're going to access this data that's coming from database. We'll cover the how you the different data structure in the future. But let's say you would like to check this data, and then one way is you can quickly console log it and see it here in console. Other way is so let's say you're creating a function, and that function, for example, some function that will get the data from database. And then if there is some kind of error, the request is coming with a status, for example, 444. You want to show the error. You don't want your browser to crash. You don't want your page to crash, because the user will not have a good experience, right? The user cannot solve the problem because you need to solve the problem. You want to avoid the web page from breaking, but you want to see that error in the console so that you can read it and then you can debug it, you can solve the problem. There might be hundreds of errors, hundreds of reasons why your website is not working. So, and you might have hundreds of functions written in your JavaScript file, and you want to know where exactly and why your web page is crashing. So you're going to write, in case of error, if there is an error, show me the error log. Yeah, console log. The error status is this, because you will get that status when you make the request. Status is this, and the reason for error, usually you get that reason sometimes from server too. What was the error, right? And you can show the error as well, so that later on, when your web page crashes, you know exactly at what point the error happened and what kind of error, and then you can problem solve. You know what I mean? Does it make sense?
Yep, thanks.
Sure. For example, let's go to CTEX website and go to console. You can see that there are some errors happening here, but none of them are crashing this site. Yeah. If you did not handle these errors, if you didn't say like, if this error happens, then just show it on the console, right? As a user, I have no idea that there are some errors on this page. I just see a nice UI. But for the developer, they need to take care of these errors. Yeah, some of them, they're not a big deal. They just some was loaded over but requested insecure style sheet. Yeah, there are some things that are not loading properly. So you can find these errors on your page that you created, so that you can take care of them if your page ever crashes. So this is console is for developers, usually to get some kind of insight to the code that you wrote. Okay. Let me go back. So, okay. And each instruction in JavaScript, we call it statement. So it's just the lingua that you use, statement. So every line of code is a statement. So here we're writing console log, hello world, and so on. And if you'd like to comment out some part of your code, just like in HTML, index HTML and CSS, you can do it here as well. Control / or what's that? Control Shift Alt A. So that's gonna make a multiple line of commenting. So with a / star and star /. Of course, do not do it by hand every time. Just use the shortcuts. Control Shift A for multiple lines, and Control / for every line. So uncommenting is the same keys. So Control / will comment every line or uncomment every line. And when the browser reads your code, it will just not perform those lines that you commented out. Usually, we try to avoid leaving commented out code in the file. We try to, if you're not using these lines of code, best thing you can do is just remove it, because you don't want to push this into the production code, because it's gonna just take place there, and people will ignore it, and then you will have garbage code in your code base just sitting there for years and years sometimes. There are good comments. For example, if there's some licensing copyright information, for example, this is for example written by Manier, and then you can leave some information about the author or copyright information of your company. I remember, like in my company, we don't use that comment. Like usually it's first line of every file, but Microsoft, they use for every file that they create, they keep a few lines of code just for licensing purpose, so that nobody will even think about sharing that code with somebody. Other things is that, for example, you might have like to do some things that you would like to do in the future, implement tips, some feature or some part of the function that's missing. So you will just leave a note for yourself. But again, if you're not doing it now, it's better not to have it at all. So best case is not to have any commented out code in your projects. Just if it's your personal project, sure, why not? But it's good to know how you can use comments. So getting results onto your screen. So we already covered this: alert, console, documented, right? Let's move on to variables. Variables in programming, they are containers of data. And already you saw variable, the example for the variable. So I created here, let my num is equal to 4. So this here is a container, special container that has some data. So this is how I can store some data in JavaScript in this file, and I can use it later. For example, I can print this, my name. And usually I like to, when I print something, I would like to give some explanation here of what I'm printing as well. This is just a practice that I like to do, because sometimes you might have multiple console logs on different lines, and sometimes you get confused what exactly is shown on the console. So my num is 4. So because when I write this console log my num, so this is going to be just printed, right? This is just a string. This is just a text that we write inside console. So this will be read as it is. But since this one is not used inside the quotation, this is just I wrote it without quotations, right? The browser will search for my num variable in this document, in this file, and it will get its value and show it in the browser, like in the console. So in this case, it's all like, okay, this is my num, is not inside the quotation, so I need to find this variable, we call it variable, and okay, it's on line 1. What its value? Its value is 4. Okay, cool, I'm gonna show 4. Let's say before I write console log, I change this value. I say my num is equal to my num multiplied by 3. So what is the value of my num right now? After I do this operation. Exactly, it's 12 because we are taking this my num, this variable, we are taking it, we are multiplying it by 3, and we are storing it again. So we are saying, okay, take this 4, multiply it by 3, and update my variable. So when I save this, you will see here 12. Because the JavaScript will read top to bottom, line by line. So it will read, okay, you're creating my num, and then you are multiplying it by 3, updating your my num variable. So now it's not 4, it's 12. So then we are writing console log. So by the time we reach line number 4, my num is already 12. So then we show 12. Okay. So variables, they are used to store some kind of data and then reuse that variable again and again. We can reuse it, we can modify it, we can pass as into different functions and so on, but we'll get there too. So just like X and Y in algebra, a variable is a named container for a value that can change in future. But some variables do not change. We'll come to it. For example, I created this, my num is equal to 4, yeah? Before, to create a variable, we used to use var. So for example, now I use let to create my variable. I can also use var. My name is equal to Manya. So I created this variable, my name, using this keyword var. But we stopped using this keyword. We stopped using it, and it's not a good practice anymore. But before 2015, this was the only way how you could create variables, how you can create variables to store some text or number or some functions, because this was the only way for many, many years. But in 2015, JavaScript introduced 2 different variables, 2 different keywords, let and const. One of them we used just now, let, yeah, here. Because var causes some problems. For example, let's say I would like to solid block. On this line, I would like to use my name variable on line 1, but I'm creating it on line 5, yeah? If I save it, let's see what happens. You can see that from line 1, you can read this, when you read this error, you can see that there is an error, and you can see where this error is coming from. It's coming from line 1 from file script.js. And it says that reference error cannot access my num before initialization. What it means is that, how to interpret this error? What it means is that you cannot use my num before you create it. So we are creating at line 5. We can use it only after line 5. So this is the rule of let keyword. So when I create a variable with let keyword, I cannot use it before I create it. So this will help me to avoid any errors in future. So it's making me more disciplined. So when I know that I cannot use my num before I create. You would say, why would you use it before you create? It's obvious that you cannot use it. Like it's so illogical, right? But funny thing is that var used to allow us to use variable before creation. So this was the bug of JavaScript. So you can see that on line 10, so I'm going to remove this line for now. This line, there is no error, you see, because on line 9, I am console logging my num. I'm going to put here also my name. I'm console logging my num, and it's not causing any problems because I created it and then I'm using it. Everything is good, right? But my name, I'm creating it on line 13, but I'm using it on line 10. And JavaScript is not complaining. It just shows me that, okay, the value is undefined. What it means is that it is showing me as if, it's acting as if my name was created, but it has not, it doesn't have a value. So undefined means that it doesn't have a value yet. So instead of showing me error, instead of
It
instead of
creating the my name as an object, right? And that's why it shows the null, like undefined.
it's not really an object, it's undefined is the data
No?
type itself. It's just
Oh.
creating some variable in the system, in the it already created it, but it acts like I wrote it like this, you know.
Okay.
So this is
Thank
how it looks like when it reads my file. When browser reads my file, it sees that, okay, there is var my name. It will take this var my name and it will put it on first line, and it will think that, okay, I already created my name variable. But this is an error. We should not be allowed to do this. We should not be allowed to use variable before we create, because what can happen is that I can take my name and I can change it here to, for example, I can change it to Kai. And when I let me take this. So I actually created this name variable, my name variable on line 8. But before I even created, I already was allowed to modify it. So now, instead of showing that, hey, you did not create this variable yet, it's showing me Kai. So this should not be allowed. So this was a bug for a long time. And sometimes it can, if you're careful with your code, of course, you might avoid this kind of side effects. But in general, there might be some, there were some side effects and some bugs caused because of this, let's say, like weirdness of JavaScript. So this was very, very weird. This was not legal. This was, JavaScript was supposed to give you the error. Instead, it allows you to do this. So to avoid this error, in 2015, they introduced let and const. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, in the line 6, you didn't even use the var to make a. You just. You didn't use the var in line 6, is it correct?
Line 6, yes, I did not use it. Yeah. I just accessed it right away, like as if this variable exists, because it does exist, because I created with var.
It took from the bottom.
Yeah, it took from the bottom. So when browser reads this file, it sees that, okay, my name was created with var. So what it does is it will just take this and will put it, it's called hoisting. So this concept is called hoisting. We'll come to it. It's a little bit more complicated concept right now, but in the future we'll cover all the
But
problems so far.
where it when it assigns the Manier value, like my name.
On line 10.
No, I know, but if you put it on the top and allocate some memory and then going to the bottom, and when it assigns to the Manier, like we just only created that variable, this variable.
So
Mm.
because of hoisting, there is a concept of hoisting in JavaScript. So when browser reads your file,
Yes.
it will see all the variables and it will hoist them. Hoisting means that take all the variables and bring it to the
Oh,
top of the
so
file.
you're just copying that line and putting on top?
No, this is what browser does when it reads the file. So it will take all the variables, it will find all the variables, and it will hoist it. So it means that it will create all the variables first, especially if it's created with var. So it will just create it, allocate the memory for that. It will keep it as undefined. So like as if the my name was created, but there is no value. So that's the bug of JavaScript. So to avoid this bug, we don't use var anymore. We use let to create our variables. So if you use let, if I want to, let's say I'm creating this my name on line 5, and I want to change my number to 7. If I run this code, you will see this error. Cannot access my num before initialization. So what it means is that on line 3, JavaScript is telling me, browser is telling me, hey, you're trying to access something that was not created yet. So because you are creating on line 5, right? So what it's telling me that this is not allowed. But with var, it is allowed. So that's like the problem of var. That's why I do not use var and use let and const. And let's talk about any questions?
So it creates and then assigns the Manier value, right?
Yeah, it assigns Manier value only when it comes to this assignment statement on line 10.
But at what point it assigns to the Kai?
On line 8.
Yeah, I know, but how does it go? Like,
So it will read top to bottom.
yes.
But first it will take this my name and it will just create it here.
Yes. And then
in
assign.
the future, and then it will assign Kai, and then it will assign var. Was assign Manier.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, like line by line. But this is not happening line by line. So this is like a let's say exception because of var keywords. You remember I told you the JavaScript was created in 10 days. So this is the one of the bugs that was introduced when it was created in 10 days. So this was not, the author of JavaScript did not think that this was a problem back then. But then the community decided that, okay, this is a problem. We are not supposed to be allowed to do this. So let's stop using var and let's use something different. For example, let, because let will make you disciplined.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when you use the let, so you showed us, okay, you used two console log. The one of them was before the variable and the second was after. So first console log was an error, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We also had a second, but we didn't see in the console. Is it should right? We had like separate console log, but because of the first error, we couldn't see it. Why?
Why? Yeah, because JavaScript reads line by line, and when it sees an error, it just stops execution. So you can see that on line 2, it saw this error that I'm trying to use this variable that I created with let, and it's illegal. You should not, the browser is telling me don't do it, and then it stops because it's telling me you need to fix it first. So since it encounters error, it stops execution.
Oh, okay. Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Manier, I have a question. Previously, it was showing my name equals Kai in the console. So if on line 11 you type console log my name Manier, will it show my name? Will it show Manier?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
So let me remove this. So first you can see that line, my name, this is, oops, my name. My name, this is line 9. Yeah? So my name on line 9, it's Kai, but then on line 10, we are reassigning it, like we're changing the value of my name variable. So now by the point when it gets to line 12, my name it will just take the last value. So on this line, we reassigned it to Manier, so it will just show Manier.
But didn't you tell that before we do the console.log, we need to declare like give a value to the my name or my name by using the word let? Otherwise, it could be giving an error, right?
Yeah, but since we are doing with var, so with var, there will be never error. So
Okay.
that's the bug. So this is
I see.
var causes bugs because it allows to use variable before you create it. So you can see that I created this my name var variable, but then I can use it on line 8 before I even create it. Yeah, before I created and assigned it. So this is the bug. With let, if you create it with let, you won't be allowed to do it. So
I see. Yeah.
yeah.
And what's the difference between let and const?
So difference between let and const is that I could create my num variable, my number variable, and then I could change it, yeah? So you can see that I took 4 and then I multiplied it and I saved it as 12. Yeah, now it's 12. If you create something with const city, for example, my city, and I create, since it's a text, I need to write it in quotation, Chicago.
Right.
And then I wanna, let's say I moved and then now my city is Seattle. If I do this, again, there will be error because difference between const and let is that let will let you change the variable. Const will not let you change variable. It's constant variable. So this data should not change. You won't be allowed to, once you create it, you won't be allowed to reassign it to something else.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. You was able to see this error without the console log, right?
Yes, yes.
The console
Because
logs.
this is illegal. You cannot do it, and browser catches it when it reads your
I
line.
just thought that you need always the console log to see the errors. Okay.
No. When browser sees this, it will see that, okay, my city was created with const and you're trying to use equal sign. So this means that assignment to a constant variable. So it automatically will show you this type error. So this is interview question. Tell me the difference between var, let, and const. So these are the differences. Like, tell me the difference between let and const. So the difference is that with let, you can create a variable and then reassign it. If you create variable with const, you are not allowed to reassign it. Another difference is that, for example, I can create my variable, let my favorite color, and then I can leave it as it is. So I just created it, but I did not assign the value. So if I console log it, this will be, I will see undefined. Undefined means the variable is there, but value has not been created. So value has not been assigned by color. So this is, if I save it, oh, by the way, let me just remove this line for now. So my favorite color, you see that it is undefined. Undefined means the variable has been created, but has no value yet. Or you can say has not been assigned. So assigning means there is no value, assigned a value. So it means that I can create this variable for now. I don't know what my favorite color is, but later on I will decide. So then I will just say later on, my favorite color is white. This is a perfectly allowed scenario. It's perfectly good. Sometimes you will create some kind of variable, it can sit there, and then you will perform some kind of actions on other, some kind of logic, and then you will decide what your variable will be, what will be the value, and then you will assign the value. It's a scenario that you can encounter at work. But we did it with let. With const, if I do this, my favorite movie, I don't know what my movie is, so I just leave it as it is. So you can see that already there are some squiggly lines. VS Code is already telling me that, hey, there is a problem. The problem is that const declarations must be initialized. If I run this, I will see syntax error, missing initializer in const declaration. What it means is that you are never allowed to do this with const. So that's another difference. Differences between let and const keywords. So this is Nursultan, you have a question? I see your hands up.
Yeah. How long does this variable last? Or until the end of the file, or when? Like when it's gonna be deleted? But like
So if you use it, if I use this my favorite color somewhere,
yeah.
then it will not be deleted. So it will be there in the memory. If I don't use it, then it will be automatically collected by garbage collector. So JavaScript has a garbage collector, so it will see that all the variables that you're using but not be you create but not being used, they will be just removed.
Thank you.
So that's like memory allocation.
What about functions? Can be functions as a variable? Can you treat the functions as a variables, right?
Yes.
You can.
Yeah.
Oh.
So when you create functions, you can assign them to a variable as well, and we'll cover them in future. So there's a function declaration and function expression, and that's you can assign them to variables as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, cool. So this is I'm going to since we are covering variables, since we are covering how to create variables and keywords for variables, this is a popular interview question for JavaScript developers. Tell me the differences between let and const. So when you start talking about differences, first we think about as a story. Yeah, you need to first give introduction. So the question was, what is the difference between let and const? So there are two things here, let and const. First, you need to talk about their similarities. So first, you will start with similarities. Both let and const are keywords to create variables in JavaScript. So that's your introduction. You're telling the interviewer that, it's a keyword. Both of them, they're keywords. And you start to list the differences. Differences between them are, and then first, what's the first difference, guys, that we discussed just now?
With let, we can change the value.
Exactly. Let will allow reassignment of value, reassignment of variable. Const does not allow reassignment. Okay, it's the second difference.
For the const, we have to always give the value.
Exactly. Let variables created with let, maybe I will put it in quotes, let keyword can be undefined, means that they might have no value when created, but variables that were created with const keyword cannot be undefined. Okay, so that's they have to have value. So that's like two big differences between let and const. Other variation is differences between var, let, and const. Or other variation of this question is, what was the problem of var? Or why do we stop using var? And we'll talk more about it in the future because you need to know things like hoisting, scoping, this kind of big concepts, and we'll get there in the future. But for now, you need to understand that these are the problems. Like when you create something with var, you can reassign, you can use variables that you create with var before even initialization. Yeah. So, but let and const does not allow that. And that's because of hoisting. Yeah, Victor, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. So in the line 23, you gave a value for favorite color. I just saw in the console undefined. Undefined. Did it run or not? What it should show?
Oh,
Okay.
Let me remove this line for now. So line 20, yeah.
Should be white, right?
What's your guess? Think that JavaScript reads line by line, top to bottom.
I think it. I'm not sure, guys. Okay, I think it should show the white.
Okay, let's
Kind of.
run it. It will show undefined because it will read line by line. It did not reach, when we wrote console log my favorite color, it did not reach line 23 yet. So it's still on line 20. And line 20, its value is, it has no value, right? So it's undefined.
Uh-huh.
If I put this console log on line 24, what am I supposed to see? What will I see?
Yeah, it's white.
White, okay. If I put it, yes, line 24, it's white. If I put it on line 18, what will I see?
Yeah, very good.
Mhm,
Just
My
exactly.
favorite color is not defined.
Pero
Exactly. Cannot access my favorite color before initialization. So if I use var, I would not see this error because you
okay.
can do a lot of funny stuff with var.
I just didn't understand in what cases we can just don't provide the value first. You just gave us example, but I didn't understand that.
Ah, okay. So sometimes we use it because let's say I create here some kind of counter. I might initialize as 0, but I don't want to. I just keep it as it is. And then I create here function count. So this function count will based on this some logic, it will increase the counter. So let's say I'm going to for let I is equal to 0, I is less than 20 I plus plus and counter plus plus. And then I run this count. So just don't ask me why I'm doing it.
Counter, not a count. Counter in a console.log.
Oh, nice, thank you. Counter. So don't ask me why, because it's just an example, yeah. Let's say there is some kind of counter and this might not work. Yeah, this one will be undefined and then I will have not number. Let's say
You can zero, right? You can do it
yeah, I
like
can
0.
do I'm thinking let's say this. I'm doing some kind of logic here, like based on my logic, after some kind of operation is done, I want this counter to become maybe a result. And then here I'm going to have let counter is equal to 0. And yeah, counter plus plus. And when this is done, I want to show my result is equal to counter is counter. And then I will just console log my result. So
Just 2 times console log. Okay.
yeah, here I'm console logging result. Here I don't need to console log this actually.
You have a count on 31, 33, 31.
Count. Where is it?
Line 32, is it extra? 32. or what?
32. No, I'm just calling this function. I'm just saying, okay, I'm creating this function and then I'm using it. I'm using this function. Let me find this error. My favorite color, line 18. Okay, I need to remove this for now. And then line 33, also this one. Okay, so counter is 20. So I created this result. I don't know what this result's gonna be, but later on I want to use this result and show something based on some logic.
Some summary, right?
Summary, yeah, some kind of, yeah. You do it, we do it sometimes in the programming, like when you need to create something. This is called global scope. Again, we are going in a very a little bit difficult concept, but global scope means that you create something that's going to be available everywhere after this line. So inside this function, I can use this variable. Think about it as, let's say you're sitting in your house, you own your house, but you can use public park. Everybody can use public park. So result is something that any function that's written after this line, they can use this result. And I don't know what its value. I don't need its value. I don't want to store it, keep the memory, like how to say, allocate the memory for its value yet. I'm going to change it based on some logic elsewhere later on. So in that case, I'm going to create variable for now, and then later on, I'm going to change it based on the logic. Make sense?
Yeah, it's interesting. Right. In the line 24, you after the for you wrote the let, right? Let is it 1 second or is different let? This let, yeah, which one is it? Or is
This is yeah, I'm creating I, some kind of I. This is a variable. I'm creating I and assigning value 0.
yeah, I
So
got it.
what's the question?
When this let, this let it from the 20 and 21 lines, or it's different let? Is it variable result?
Oh, let is just keyword. It will allow me
Okay,
to tell the browser that this is my variable name is I. Like it will tell browser that, hey, I'm creating variable here,
you can create
and the name is I, the value is 0.
you can
This is like the syntax to tell the browser that this is I'm creating variable.
Okay, it's clear. Thanks.
Cool. There are anonymous variables. You can do that, but it's not a good practice. My age is equal to, for example, 29. You'll see that if I console log this, my age, there will be no errors. You can still do this, and this is called anonymous variables. Let's do this. Anonymous, this is how you spell it, anonymous variables. So this is something that you create without any keyword. Bad practice. Don't do it, because let and const are there to force a rule on you, and you should follow this rule. Otherwise, so just like drinking is not allowed when you are under alcohol influence. It's not, you can think about it as inconvenience. Like you might think like, oh, I wish I could drink and drive, but actually it's for your safety, right? Just like that, this rule to use let and const is there for you to avoid, to help computer to help you to avoid errors in the future. So there is some rigid box. If you follow that, there is a high probability that there will be fewer errors in the future in your project. So do not use var, do not use anonymous or where is that, my age, yeah, anonymous variables. Do not create variables without any keyword or with keyword var. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
So Manel, it means so from now on, We only need to use let and const, right? Not var.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Okay, because yeah, I'm seeing on the videos, yeah, a lot of people are using var, but okay, it's obsolete now.
Yeah. So var, you might see it still. What happens is that there might be old videos out there on YouTube, or you might join a company, especially in fintech. They have, if it's an old fintech company, they have a code base that was written in 2000s. And in 2000s, again, this is a quick question for you guys. When let and const were introduced? Oh, we did not discuss this, right?
Yeah.
2016.
So, yeah, exactly. 2015, actually. So,
Okay.
ES6.
let me add it to this answer. This is your perfect answer, guys. Try to screenshot it or write it down for yourself. They were introduced with ES6 in 2015. So it means that even in 2015, if you write code, if you're a developer in 2015, you probably just saw let and const. Probably your company does not follow these new features right away. So even the code that was written in 2015 will have var in it. If you join a fintech nowadays, like let's say you graduate your bootcamp, the CTech bootcamp, and then when's your graduation date? 4 months from now, right? February, March, April, May,
5 months from
June.
June
Let's say
11.
in July you join a fintech company and they have a code base from 2000s. You will see a lot of var in their code base. And first thing you will think is that, oh my God, I wish I could change all this var to let and const. This is what happens all the time. You want to go and fix everything because they will have var in their code base. And when you see var, it's like your hands will start to be itchy because you're like, I see this problem, I want to fix it. I want to rewrite all the vars into let and const. So that's why you still see var out there. When my suggestion is when you join a company, when you see a var, if it's when you're introducing some kind of feature, you're building a feature, working in a certain file, that's your responsibility. Let's say this file or this function. Change var to let or const depending on the context. If it's some variable that is not changing, change it, make it const. If it's some variable that's later changing, for example, inside this for loop, somebody maybe wrote var. You can feel free and go and write it as let. If your senior developer asks you, why did you do this? Because you can say, because it's ES6, nobody uses it, so I decided to fix it. But you do it in your file that you are working on. Do not go and try to fix whole project. Okay. Let's have a break, guys. I think if you have any questions, let me know after the break. So 10 minutes break. Enjoy a break. See you. So far we covered the var, const, and let. Now you know the difference between var, const, and let. And when you first create variable, it does not have a value, so it's undefined. So this is the case where that we saw with my favorite color, right? For example, result, yeah, it does not have a value, so it will be undefined in the first. So then you can set a value for variable. But this is, you leave it undefined if you have a reason for that. Yeah. So usually we assign the value right away, some kind of default value. The variables can hold different types of data, and the value of variable can change over time. So the value of variable can change over time. What means is that, so if you create it with let, you can reassign it to something else. And so far we saw different types of data. Yeah, so types of data, that's a very crucial thing that we need to understand. So far we saw two types of data. One is if you want to write a text, so in quotation, this is called a string. String means some kind of text, multiple words. It can be one word, one letter, or empty string. Like if you write like this is empty string. In programming, this is any text that's between the quotation marks is called string, because it's like, I guess it's string of characters. Other data type that you so far saw is number, regular number that we know. So data types in JavaScript. So this is another popular question, common popular question in JavaScript. What are the data types in JavaScript supported by JavaScript? What are the data types in JavaScript? So you saw so far string, for example. Chicago. Yeah. So this is you create a string by using like this single quotation marks, like this, or double quotation marks, like this. So both of them are valid. Just try to keep it consistent. If you're creating all your strings with single quotation marks, try to keep it like that. Usually every company has their own convention, their rules, like for example, all the in a file or in a project, all the strings must be created with a single quotation or double quotation. Next is number. This is string. This is number. Example is any number, 1, 2, 3. Here's a question for you. Let magic number is it a number data type or a string data type?
It's string.
Exactly. This is string. Even though when we look at it, first look at it, it looks like a number. But since we put it inside the quotation marks, this is a string. How do we check it? I can check every data type by operator, type of, and then I can write my variable and then console log it. This is coming from line 54, yeah. Type of magic number is, and then let's check our console. Type of magic number is string, yeah. Even though it looks like a number, but since we put it in quotation marks, it's a string. So you can check, if you're not sure, you can check data type of variable with operator called type of. There are some exceptions for type of. Sometimes it doesn't work as you expect it to work, but we'll talk about later on in different in the later classes. Other data types. Let me see what we have here. I think we have here a slide. Let's go. Yeah. So we have a Boolean. Other data type is a Boolean. Boolean has only two values. With a string, you can create an infinite type of variations of string, like Chicago, LA. Any word can be a string. Any collection of words can be a string. Number, again, you can use positive numbers, negative numbers, and it can be any kind of number. Yeah? Boolean has only two values. It's true or false. So usually when you create a Boolean, you need to create it with a, so that your variable name answers yes or no question. For example, is hot today, for example, is hot today. So is the weather hot today, for example? And it's I think 10 degrees outside, positive 10 degrees, but it's not hot, right? So my answer is false. Yeah. And later on in summer, it can become it will become hot then, and then I will change this is hot today to true. Yeah. Like, so this data type will hold only two values, true or false. So it means that it will answer only yes or no question. Yeah. So that's Boolean. Undefined, you already know it. So if you create something and then this is illegal, by the way. I think this should be let. If you create something, some variable, and then do not assign a value, it becomes undefined. For example, I'm going to create here is hot today. I'm not sure if it's hot or not today. I'm going to check with some kind of logic later on. If it's above certain temperature, then it's hot. If it's below certain temperature, then it's not hot. Yeah. But for now, it does not have any value. So if I console log is hot today, then I will see undefined, right? And if I check the data type of is hot today, and then type of, you will see that data type of this hot today is undefined. It's not only its value is undefined, but also the data type itself is undefined. Undefined has only one value, which is undefined. Other one is object. I guess null, yeah. Null. Yes, it should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think here we are given only 5. But in JavaScript, there are actually 8 data types. So let's put here 5. Null is if you explicitly want to say that the this variable should not have any value, like you can explicitly assign it to null. Null means no value at all, like, and you are not going to assign it. So for example, let number, let's say, for example, my favorite color. Did I use this? Yeah, we did use this. My favorite movie. Let's say I don't have a favorite movie, I assign it to null. And then if you console log it, you will see null. And also if you console log the type of my favorite movie, then you will see that its value, its type will be object, because this is another, I believe this is a bug. The null will be interpreted as, if you use type of operator, it will show us the type of this variable as null. And this is actually another interview question. If variable is null, what is the type of, what is the data type of, or what's the data type of null? So you should know that its data type is object. So I believe because everything essentially is object, but this is supposed to show in a perfect scenario that it should show null since it's a data type is null. But if you check this type of, then it will be object. But yeah, null is another data type, and its value can be only null.
Manier, why do you, like when we really need to use a null if we even didn't want to put some value?
Sometimes I rarely see that we use it as a like in assignment. Sometimes the data can come as a null. You need to understand that that there is no data. Like for example, from server, or you made some kind of your data got lost. For example, when you are doing some kind of data manipulation, then you need to understand that what null means. So it's just empty value. Explicitly assigned empty value. Next data type is object. Object can be arrays and JavaScript objects. We'll cover them, I think, more in future. So these are, for example, if you want to store not a text, not a number, but if you want to store like multiple numbers, multiple basically collection of data, list of data, then usually use arrays. So objects can be arrays, objects. So arrays, we create them with square brackets, and objects, we create them with curly braces. Then we will cover them in the future. Other one is big int. Big int is then, for example, number has its own limitations. You cannot create a very big number with this data type because it has memory limitation for this data type. So if you want to create a very big number, then you can use big int. Other one is a symbol. This one was introduced, I believe, in 2017, I believe, or 16. So symbol is used to create a unique key. So every time when you create a symbol, it's going to be a unique symbol. So to avoid repetition of some data, if you want to store a data inside an object and you want to create a unique key every time, you can use it with symbol. So, but mostly commonly used are string, numbers, booleans. You should understand what undefined is, what null is, and you should. We also use a lot objects. Big int and symbols we don't use much. Like I've never used big int and symbol.
Manier,
yeah.
about the object. The object contains the different type of values, like, and also string, also number, or what?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You can put inside the object different multiple strings, multiple numbers. For example, if I want to create an array, my favorite numbers, for example, list of my favorite numbers, let's say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 9, 10. They're just random numbers, and 77, for example. It will hold not only one value, but multiple values. And then this is, it has its own functionalities, its own features. It's a very powerful data type, structure, we call it data structure. JavaScript created whole library to manipulate this data structure, the data inside this square brackets. Yeah, so you can add something quickly, you can remove something from it, you can search for something. And your question might be, why do I need it as a developer? For example, you want to create a storage, like a local storage of users, let's say customer database. You need to mock up some kind of a customer database for now. You will create array of customer, right? Like list of customers. So customer 1, like customer 2, and so on. And you need to have some kind of data about customer 1 and customer 2. To create that data, you will need objects that you can create with curly braces. So for example, const customer, customer data. I'm going to create an object, and this object will have, every object in JavaScript has key and value pairs. So key will be, for example, first name, or like just name. Amantul. For example, ID is 123. 123. And then this is just about one customer, right? And then I can add another customer, Izada. ID 345. And so on. So to store this kind of data, you need to store multiple data. You need an array. So array means multiple of something, yeah, like a list of something. And to have like a key and value pairs, like the name and value and ID and value. And for example, you are tracking this customer's, for example, points, yeah. So this is like reward points. So this customer has 3,000 reward points, and this customer has 4,000 reward points, like some reward system, yeah, let's say. So if you want to create this kind of database locally and store it locally, you would have to create an array, and each customer will be represented by some object. And then you will have a key. This is actually a string. And this is a string. This is a number. This is a number. And for example, is active. This can be active. This can be a Boolean. True. Yes, it's an active customer. This is maybe Izada already not a customer yet already. Maybe she unsubscribed and then she's not active, so she's false. And then let's say Rustam. And Rustam is active customer, and which is true, yeah. So this is just a data structure that will help you to organize your data. And you will need this data to, if you're managing like a web page, e-commerce website. If you're managing e-commerce website, you need to have database of products. For e-commerce website, you need to have database of products. So for database of products, it can be product data, and then name can be t-shirt, ID 123, instead of price, points, it can be price in, let's say, dollars. So $23. And amount is maybe you have 30 pieces of this t-shirt, and then you will just have multiple of this data. And then your job as a developer is to maintain this data, show this data on the UI. Whenever, if user buys it, then you need to update this data and so on. Yeah. This is a shirt. This is a blouse, for example. And this is a jeans. So, so these data structures, with these data structures, like even without big int and symbol, you can maintain your website. Yeah, go ahead. Nursultan, you have a question?
Yeah. What about the floats? And if you multiply the integer by the float, you're gonna get the float. And how to convert the float to the integer?
Floats are still numbers, just type of numbers. So floating number, like if decimal.
No,
and
the number is gonna be represented by the, like, without the how can I say that? Without the numbers after the dots, dot,
yeah. No, you will still see the.
or I will see the dot and 0 after the
Yeah.
number.
Let's say I'm going to create let magic number. No, not this one. Floating number.
And there was something wrong with dividing the floats in JavaScript. Yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
When you divide it by 0 or 3, I forgot really.
So floating number, if I console log this, I will see with the digits
Sentence.
after the dot. If I check the type of this, it will still be number. Type of floating number, type of. It's still gonna be number because it's all under the umbrella of number, the floating numbers and everything. If you would
What
like
if
to
I
make
multiply by the 4, 3?
43?
I doesn't matter.
Okay, yeah, you will still see that the decimals after the digit. Yeah, so yeah. If you would like to get like a rounded number for number,
I can use the
There is
math and
also-
round too.
yes, you can use math.ceil or math.floor,
Floor.
or to fixed. So
Yeah,
on
got it.
numbers,
Thank you.
there are methods like
And yeah, sorry, like the 50%, is it number or what? If you
percent.
yeah, percent or like dollar, if we let like some symbol.
50% is basically like the 50 divided by 100.
Yeah, that's how you get the 50%. Yeah,
What
there is a
type
full percentage.
What type of?
If you want to create like a percentage, so let's say percent,
Okay.
then you'll just create as 50. But then if you want to find the 50% of something, for example, let total is equal to 100, then you want to find 50% of 100, you would have to calculate it. So like
I mean, what
100
Mhm.
multiplied, so total multiplied by 100, right? Divided by 50. I know
Yes.
otherwise, yeah.
Yeah.
Other way, 50 multiplied by 50, divided by 100, right? And
Yes,
this
yes.
50 will be percent. So you will read the value of percent from here. The browser will read it from here, total from here. So if you want to find percentage of something, then you will do this. If you want to
Yeah.
find 20% of something, then still this one will work for you.
Thank you. But my question was like 20 is number, right? Type of
Yeah,
20 is
number.
number.
Mhm.
If I will just add a symbol like percent, what is it? Just symbol percent.
I believe it's gonna throw some kind of error. Yeah, it kind of like the
Doesn't
browser
work?
will not understand it anymore.
Okay.
So if I run this, unexpected identifier total. So right now, this one is not running properly because of this line.
Even
So-
if you'll use it in object. Like
Um,
here's you use the price. It's price 23. Can I put the dollar symbol?
yeah, again, it will break. Yeah. Oh, it will actually think that this is a variable name because we can create variables with
Okay,
with
yeah.
the dollar sign.
Mm.
So those symbols, they will have their own meaning or no meaning at all. So it will break it when browser reads it. So it will read it as mistake or interpret it differently. So I think we're almost done. So numbers, we already saw them. So numbers can be rounded numbers like 5, 10, 7, or floating numbers. So it means a 9.6 like this. So both of them will be type of them will be a number. Arithmetic operations. So we saw that we can make some arithmetic operations, calculate something, multiply, divide. So you can do all kind of math. Whatever you do in math, you can do it in JavaScript as well, even more complicated operations. So minus is negation. So if you do minus a, so that would be opposite of a. So that's usually if you want to, let me just put it here. So example, const let num is equal to 8 and console.log minus num. So this will give me minus 8. Yeah, so it's just a positive opposite value. So if I do minus 8, but that in front of it I can put, if I put minus, then it will convert it into positive 8. So it as if you're multiplying it by minus 1. Then you can do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus. Modulus means that it will give you the remainder of, so for example, let me just remove everything here. Const my num is equal to 120. Let's say 121. And I want to find console.log 121 modulus 10. So what it means is that, actually, let me read remainder variable. The remainder is equal to, I'll take this right here, 121 modulus 10. And here I'm going to put remainder. So what it will give you is as if you took first number, divided by the second number, and you're asking what is in remainder. So if you remember from math, so 121 divided by 10. So first it will be 1, so 10, 20, 2, then you take this number 21, then it will be 2, then 20, and then you can not divide 1 anymore. Yeah, so this is the remainder. So this is what this value means, remainder. So whatever value that you cannot divide by this divisor. So modulus will just get you that. That's what this sign means. I think strings, yeah, group of characters, we already covered them. You can use, let me introduce you to one concept. So const first name. So let's say I'm going to use Victor, your name, as an example. Victor. And then let's create last name. Last name is equal to Abdisattarov, right? Sorry. You have a really long
Yeah.
Abdisattarov last name. Okay. And I want to create a full name. Const full name is equal to. So if I want to create full name Victor Abdisattarov, then I can take first name, add to it last name. So this operation is called concatenation. Concatenation. It means that adding one string to another string. And if I console log this full name to see what we got. So here's the beauty of computers, beauty and curse of computers. You might think that it would put some kind of space in it, but you did not give an instruction to put space between Victor and Abdisattarov. So it just put it, both of them all together, like as one word. So if you want to put this empty space there, then here we can create another string, put empty space here, and then add last name. And if I refresh it, then we'll get Victor space Abdisattarov, his full name. Here I can also write welcome to Chicago, and then full name, full name. So add full name to it. And here, if you notice that I put space there so that it will read as a proper, it will not be squished together. And then I want to put exclamation marks, then plus another string, exclamation mark. Then if I run it, so welcome to Chicago, Victor Abdisattarov. So this is how you can add strings together. It's concatenation, and let's say string operators plus equal. Yeah, it's also nice. Let's say let's take this full name is equal to first name. Let's say I don't know yet last name, so then I'm going to assign full name to first name for now, and then once I create last name, then I will just take full name and I can just add to it and then equal sign. So what this means is that take full name equal full name plus last name, and with some space in between. Who can spot a problem here, guys? There will be some kind of error. What kind of error I'm gonna see?
Redefining the constant value.
Exactly. We are creating constant full name and then we are reassigning it, changing its value. So this will be the problem. And we should tell CTEC to update this slide as well, because this will cause, if I run this code, this will cause also problems. I just remove it for now. If I run this, so it's coming from line 18, so we cannot do this because we create with const. How to fix this problem?
Use let instead of const.
Exactly, we can use let. So I can remove this back and use let here. So this line means it's same as writing kittens equal kittens plus snuggles. So this is just combination of this like equal kitten name plus like of these three things. Oops. Of these three things, you can write it as just plus equal sign. Okay. Concatenation, yeah. So that's what concatenation means, just adding strings together. Combining strings and numbers. Okay, so I would like to give you this as a homework. Please, you can do this. So the to fix, you can read to fixed about this method in this. If you click this, it will take you to this documentation. Do this as a homework, and also there is a homework and practice list of homeworks and practice here that you can do at home. Yeah. Do you have any questions?
No question.
Yeah, I have a question, Manal.
Yeah.
On it's about this home or the project on the learning platform, Tech platform. It says for this fortune teller, it says create a branch under your team repository. Do we need to do work on our teams, or which teams does this project means?
Yeah, I'm going to ask Jodis to give you instructions how to. I think they will create teams in the GitHub, and then you
No,
can.
yeah, we are now right now we have the social network
Uh-huh.
teams we are working on. We are divided into the. So do we need to do this JavaScript assignments in that social networks team, or it's going to be different team?
I think it's different. It should be different. It's either it's on your own name or different teams in GitHub. They should tell you, like there should be a specific repo where you can create the branch.
Yeah, because it looks like the homeworks is going to be pushed to the team repository, and
Yeah.
teammates will be reviewing and approving it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
For this homework, you need to create a program to calculate. So you can just do it in one script.js file, create a script.js file and attach it to the HTML document. And you need to have variables for per tip. So create per tip, create tip percentage, calculate the total bill, and then output sentence, your total bill with tip is, and then the total bill. This is just an example. And bonus, you need to use to fixed to round the bill to up to 2 decimals. So if it's a number like 1 to 9999, then you can use, for example, let's say it's a const bill. What's that? Total bill, yeah. So for example, total bill is equal to 22,999, yeah. And then you need to round it up. So to round it, const rounded is equal to. You can take to fix the method and apply to it. So total bill dot to fixed. And here in the parentheses, you can pass up to how many decimals you want to be rounded. So we want to get 1299, yeah. So this is our outcome. So, or like two numbers. I think it would be. Let's see what it shows. Actually, I'm also curious. Console.log. I think it will round that to 13, maybe. rounded. So, it rounded to 13 because the closest number will be 13, but then you see two decimal numbers and this will be rounded to 13. So this is your homework. You can do this practice and this homework practice. Okay. Let's see. Any questions, guys? No, Sultan, go ahead.
That's a question relating the project. So, can you show the best project that you did after the bootcamp? No, or you don't have it, like deleted it.
Let me see. I can show you my CV and my projects next class. Sounds good?
Okay. Yeah.
It has some projects in it. I'm not sure if all of them are deployed or if any of them deployed still. I need to check it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So
Mm,
this is it, guys. Thank you so much
yes.
for our class.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To the homework. Thank you so much. See you next week.
Have a good night.
Good night.